right, everybody. You don't know this, but it's actually only 2 days since we recorded the previous podcast. So this is really jarring.
This is like
to me
a record.
We go from November to practically June without recording a single one, and now we do 2 within a 72-hour period. I don't know if I'm emotionally stable enough to withstand this kind of
excitement.
It's just too much.
Yeah, the speed at which we're going is just. I mean, there's going to be one out every week. Isn't that what we used to do?
And we used to do every 2 weeks.
Oh, okay. So we're ahead of schedule. All of this biannual stuff. I was like, hold on. Do they mean biennial?
Semi-annual. I prefer that. It's clearer than biannual.
Right, biannual. I thought we were gonna they were mandating that we do another one. I'm like, bossy people.
Seriously, God, what do you want?
Yeah, don't get all assumptive and shit.
Okay, so this. We're turning a new leaf here. This is episode 1 of the clean lyrics version.
Oh, we're gonna stop cussing. So 4-year-olds can listen?
Well, no, it's not even the 4-year-olds don't mind. It's just it's a handful of.
Yeah, the 4-year-olds ignore us.
It's the whiny babies who are of adult chronological age. Funny because just yesterday, we just put this new episode out, first one of 2019. Everybody's so excited. We get all these amazing comments on Instagram, all these people posting and tagging us, and this is the greatest show ever. I missed you guys so much. And then one guy went on iTunes and just teed off on us. 1 star. Worst, most vulgar, terrible podcast ever, unsubscribed. And I was like, man, I really want to withdraw my whole claim that I'm going to stop swearing now, just for that one guy.
Fuck that guy.
Hey.
Oh, sorry.
You ruined it already. It's only been 2 minutes and 24 seconds. I told you couldn't do it.
Start over.
Nope.
Doing a do-over.
Nope. Okay, that's going to be 1 profane word episode.
So I've used mine.
That's it. You hit your quota.
I'm done with 3.
Ursula! Control yourself, woman. This is why we can't have nice things.
Sure. But the guy already left.
It doesn't matter. There's plenty of other people like that. Really? And as much as I want to tell them to F off, as one might say.
God. What did you say about that when people...
I know, exactly. Look at what these people have done to me. Look at the position I've been put in.
People who don't use the actual word that they intend to use and say something like, that fruit and blah, blah,
It's really embarrassing and pathetic, to be honest.
I know.
What we really need to do is we need some really deep market research here where we can find out the actual percentage of our listeners and potential listeners who prefer the profane version over the clean version. Because I'd be willing to bet the vast majority of our listeners would actually be kind of bummed if we never swore again.
Well, considering that we can barely get the podcast put together, I doubt that kind of in-depth research is in our future.
Well, considering the budget of $0 annually, I would agree with that.
So keep dreaming.
I mean, I suppose...
We're just going to have to wing it and see what happens.
I suppose those of you, our hardcore listeners, and by hardcore, I mean you are still listening at this point, you could tell us. It doesn't seem like it really bothers you guys. And I really feel like we get more positive feedback on the fact that we don't do a podcast like we're 11 teen-year-olds whose parents are listening. I feel like a lot of people find that preferable.
Well, I
could be wrong.
It just comes from passion in my case.
I am so passionate about profanity. That's just how I express myself.
Yeah, I know. I just get worked up.
I do. I get very worked up very easily, as shown in the end of the last episode.
Oh, I don't even remember it.
Yeah.
I'm getting old. I'm like an octogenarian.
Oh, settle down.
What is it when you're in your 50s? It's not centenarian because it's hundreds.
No.
What is 50s?
I don't know.
Sesquintenarian?
Sesquicentenarian.
Hey, you're the English major.
Exactly. I'm not the math major. It's like the exact opposite, in fact.
Yes.
I can describe vividly what a 50-year-old is like, but not give you a single word that perfectly defines being 50.
Well, maybe somebody will send it in to us. I usually know those kind of unnecessary words. But
I know a few of them here and there, but
I get caught in the gym on a regular basis where they're telling me I'm making up a word. This happens like at least once a week.
Got to have that pocket dictionary on you.
No, well, Google, that's my pocket dictionary. And I literally look it up. And then I follow them around the gym, whoever it was that was cute, make them read it out loud. And then they still argue. It's amazing. That
people will argue anything. People don't believe in facts anymore.
In the face of absolute proof. So they're like, fake news. I'm like, but it's in Google, as if Google knows everything. I'll tell you what was
That's
funny.
why I suggested the pocket dictionary. It's more credible than Google.
But when I went, well, it is a dictionary on Google, basically. But when I... somebody was looking up something the other day and I spit it out before Google did. And they were like, you're faster than Google. And I'm like, no, you're slow getting to Google.
No, I'm just faster and smarter than you.
And your ability to type in the word.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's the whole, if you have to tell people you're smart, you're a dumbass, I'm probably in that group. Is ass considered a curse word?
You know what? It is, HBO, but I think
we can go at it.
Say that again.
If it's on HBO, we should be able to say it.
They can say anything on HBO, Ursula.
Exactly.
But this isn't a premium channel. No one's paying us for this. Unfortunately, we can.
That's true.
I'd be happy to change that.
That would be a reason. Okay.
If I could get paid and swear, I mean, I can't think of a better deal for a podcast.
Well, getting paid and lift weights and swear.
Here's what I was thinking, ruminating over this guy's comment.
Y'all usually don't hear, by the way.
Well, yeah, I just whatever.
Kind of turned it on
weightlifting, profanity, it doesn't really matter. Yeah. They're either going to listen to us or not. And so
I just want to put Greg's dog was barking before he wouldn't turn it on to start.
And what's the key point in what you just said?
You wouldn't turn it on before while the dog
was barking before we were recording.
Yeah, but that was
you don't recognize the difference between that.
I have no control over the button. Hey, and also he made me wait so he could go get water, and I'm over here. I'm like dehydrating for y'all. That's how much I care about myself.
Are you guys starting to understand why it's so difficult for me to get this podcast out?
Or started?
Yeah, okay. Or so to just tolerate it. I don't remember because you just walked me down some path 18 miles away from whatever point I was just going to make.
You should be able to focus better.
Yeah. I'm a little tired today, which is why we've gone 10 minutes without saying a single word about the sport of weightlifting.
What are you tired of?
Being awake.
Oh, yeah.
The usual thing people are tired of. I know what I was going to say. Yeah.
It's going to go with me. Okay.
So I'm thinking about this guy's comment about how we're so vulgar and it's so awful and he just hates us so much and
don't listen.
God, we're the worst. And then I was like, well, maybe, we should probably kind of clean it up a little bit, which to be in my defense, I had already said prior to this comment. So this is not all coming from this one guy's influence over me.
Right. Yeah, sure.
But someone, my friend Michael Rutherford sent me a link today to some episode of the Joe Rogan podcast, which I do not listen to regularly. And, listening to him, he swears up and down. He's got a lot more listeners than we do. So I don't know if we're the problem.
It's not the cursing. Yeah. It's not the cursing that's the problem.
I think it's just the content and the audience. Yeah.
It's that one guy.
It's just you.
It's probably the guy who hates me already.
He definitely was very specific about you. He only mentioned you by name, not me, although I was clearly included in the comment.
There's a guy who absolutely hates me.
Just one?
And that I know of, that is really open about it. I'm sure there's plenty.
Oh, I have a handful of
people. But this guy really, really he just says all sorts of stupid shit that's not true. He just like hypothesizes and theorizes and, all these. He's a little bit
speculates. How many other words can we come up with for this?
Yeah, I know, right? But I was out.
Presumes,
right? Yeah, but he makes all these presumptions, and then he posts them like they're fact, and then he gets other people to believe him, even though there's no basis for it. Kind of like Trump, there's no basis for it whatsoever.
So in other words, the internet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he goes on sites and that's what I guess this is his hobby, and he's just been doing it for
his hobby is just like beating up on you.
Finding ways to slander me or libel me, and I've just gotten to the point where I'm like, you know what? If you listen to him, then you don't even know me, and if you don't really know me or want to know me, then I don't really care. Like if that's what you want to think, like you've never met me, and that's what you're going to base your opinion of me off of. What am I going to do? Like,
I genuinely can't think of a more pathetic state of being than having going after someone like that being like a primary activity of your life.
Yeah. No, it's certainly
you serve no purpose in the world.
Secondary activity. I'm sure. I would hope that he did something else besides.
Oh yeah,
that.
No, he eats and drinks water and sleeps and then causes you problems. So it seems like quaternary. Yeah. There's another stupid word.
The worst part is that it's like, if you want to hate me, fine, but why are you trying to get other people who don't even know me? And the fact is, this guy doesn't know me.
But that's how people who hate you are.
Yeah,
they want other people on board.
He's never said a single word to me in person.
Shocker. That is so shocking that he won't actually confront you in person. Yeah, never experienced that before.
I'm sure no one has.
People are usually so open in person, just like on the internet. I've had the exact opposite. Well, I shouldn't say the opposite experience, but I've had the experience.
People loved you. People fell in love with you, and then they met you.
No. Well, yes. I assume it's a huge letdown when they finally meet me in person. But no, people who just like have just awful things to say about me all over the internet, like just go out of their way to try to cause problems for me, and then I'll run into them in person and they will come and shake my hand and like say something nice. Like, are you kidding me? Like, what's wrong with you? If you're gonna be like that, at least commit to it. Just commit to it. I already don't like you. Like, you're not gonna fool me. Oh, whoa, he came and said hi, he must be cool. No, I already know what you're like. Like, what exactly are you trying to accomplish with that? Like, are we going to be friends now? Are we going to hang out? You want to come to my birthday party? Maybe that's why you don't like me in the first place, because I didn't invite you to my birthday party. Is that the problem?
Oh, no, I've had some references in some of the comments that I've gotten about how, like, basically it was this kind of cool kids comment. Like, oh, yeah, since you're part of the cool kids type comment. I'm like, what are you talking about? Are we in junior high?
I mean, yes, I am part of the cool kids, but the fact that you're not is not my fault. It's your fault.
No, I mean, it was just one of these weird comments that I was like, what are you talking about?
It is amazing the kind of things people will get really obsessed over. Well, again, if that's the biggest concern in your life is how much you don't like someone, it's extremely pathetic.
Yeah.
Get it. I mean, collecting stamps would be way cooler.
Yeah, you probably need some therapy or something, which we probably all need some therapy, but you need some specialized therapy.
You need more intense and longer duration and higher frequency. Yeah. And yeah. Okay, well, is there anything weightlifting related you'd like to talk about? Didn't you say you had a question for me? Did you already ask that question? I've already forgotten it because you talked about so many other unrelated things. No one knows.
Thinking,
Welcome to the Friday edition of the Weightlifting Life Podcast. It's just all over.
I did have some silly questions.
Oh boy.
So, do you prefer slides or regular flip-flops with the little thing between the toe?
Regular flip-flops, because if I were standing still, all I had to do was put the shoes on and just stand still, slides are fine. But if I have to actually be mobile and walk around, I want flip-flops because they're more secure. I feel like slides, I'm constantly trying to keep my foot in it. Yeah.
Oh, see, I guess you're just my anterior tibialis is probably just more developed than yours.
Probably.
Because I prefer flip-flops, and I feel like it's no effort to keep them on my feet.
That's what I just said. I prefer flip-flops because there's no effort to keep them on my feet.
Slides. I call them flip-flops. Here we go with terminology issues.
Oh, yeah. Terminology issues.
No, you're talking about flip-flops with the thing between the toe.
Yeah, that's what you said.
I call everything flip-flops. I call everything a chancla or flip-flop.
Oh, my God.
So slides, yeah, like the Adidas slides. I prefer the Adidas slides. I can't wear some. I remember when I was a kid wearing the sandals that you're talking about with the little thing between the toe.
Yep.
And that shit hurt. I was like, I don't know how people do this.
You just had the wrong ones, the wrong size. Some of them do hurt. Like there's ones that have like a weird leather strap that will just like saw you in half.
Kind of like real thongs.
The one good thing about slides is you can wear them with socks.
Oh yeah, because that's a good idea.
It is. Because you can use them going to the gym or something. You take your weightlifting shoes off and put slides on. Yeah. You're not going to go like take your weightlifting shoes off, leave your socks on, and then put flip-flops on. And ram your sock between your toes. Oh, I've seen it too. The other day. But don't.
You got to be desperate for that move.
Yeah.
So, then that answers this. Okay, lifting. Barefoot.
Wait, we're actually going to talk about weightlifting?
No, hold on.
Oh, okay.
Barefoot or with thongs or flip-flops?
You're talking about lifting?
These are your options. I know, weightlifting shoes. That's off the table.
Okay.
If you have to demo something, what would you prefer?
Barefoot? Oh, barefoot, 100%.
Oh, yeah, I'm still flip-flops.
Well, barefoot, there's nothing to potentially get tangled up in and kill yourself with.
Yeah, that's not happened to me yet.
Well, maybe you should be more aggressive with your foot movement.
But I can move my flip-flops with me, my slides. They stay on my foot. I'm in them
Maybe
now.
You just have like giant fat toes, so they stick up so far in front of the little strap that they're really secure.
That's probably it. I like how you can just analyze things from afar like that. You're so good.
Well, because the shape of a foot slopes down towards the toe. So it's an inherently flawed design when it comes to security on the foot.
I probably just have fat feet is what you're trying to say, and I'm okay with that.
No, because if you had fat feet, they would still slope down towards the toes. Although if you had extremely fat, like if you had so much adipose tissue on the top of your foot, and then your slide strap was really tight, so it squeezed part of it to the distal end of your foot, then it would lock it right in.
You're basically describing like sausage feet, and I'm offended.
Hey.
No, I don't have.
I'm just trying to imagine a scenario in which slides are secure on a foot.
And I just think I have proper fitting slides.
Do you have, maybe if you put the spiky side of the Velcro on the inside of the top of the strap, then it would stick to your...
These are like the old school ones that are kind of heavy.
I'm saying you put the Velcro inside the top of the strap, and then it'll stick to your sock.
I have no Velcro on these.
And then you could just leave your socks in it. It'd be like a 2-piece boot.
Well, solve that.
Okay.
God, we're so good at solutions.
What's the next question? We can get at least one more in here before we lose everybody.
We'll do real questions. Allie.
Okay.
Let's do Allie's got.
Allie, if you're still listening, Allie probably stopped listening already, and now she's going to miss us answering her question, and she'll never know that we did. It'll be a sad day for you, Allie.
Yeah.
Okay. Allie says, hello, thank you very much for the monthly podcast. Oh, she clearly wrote this before November of 2018. I'm very much hoping to get an answer to these 3 questions, which all revolve around the same issue. I was just telling Ursula, Allie, this is pretty much going to be the Allie edition, although it turned out to be just the non-weightlifting edition. Background info. I've been in the sport for 3 years, but came from a background of zero strength sports, so I consider myself a beginner. I'm very tall for a weightlifter. I'm 5'9", 71 kilo female. Even worse, I have unnaturally long arms with a 6'2" wingspan. Cool, you can tie your shoes without leaning over. First question. When I took my USA Weightlifting's level 1, are you picturing that right now? You don't need a shoehorn. You can just put your fingers down in there. I asked the instructor, who is obviously a very experienced, widely respected coach, what he would do with someone like me if I showed up at his store to be groomed into a national level lifter. His response is that he would simply turn me away because my proportions are not ideal, and therefore I probably will never become an elite lifter. Would this be your answer as well? So this is the main reason I chose this question, because no. So let's answer these one at a time. Let's take this one first, because there's no point in reading these other ones if we're not going to address them right away.
There are plenty of what we'd consider
sock monkey lifters.
Shut up. Dolicomorphs, like long arms and limbs and short torsos that have been able to be successful.
Jessica Lucero is the best 58 kilo lifter in the history of the United States, and she's got the longest arms in the history of the universe. So you should show this coach a video and be like, hey, wait a minute. This girl breaks the mold for, appropriate proportions for weightlifting, yet there's never been a 58 who's lifted more weight in the United States. What's your explanation, sir?
Well, I think obviously it would take like some special considerations for the body type. And you would have to make some adjustments and maybe allow for some differences in like where the contact point might be, really working on the getting the elbows up and extending because of the length of the arms. Because if you have a long arm and the bar goes around, it's going to go really around. And so, there might be some considerations and exercises that you might have to add into your program that somebody who's better proportioned for the lift might not need.
Some of those classic arm shortening exercises.
Yes, like cutting them down. But but there are some adjustments that you might need to make in the program to specifically address your lack of like ideal body proportions for the sport. But it's not that people have become national level lifters with this body type. I don't know if their considerations were, first of all, somebody who sees you one weekend might not know. Here's a funny story. One of my better national level lifters, well, right now he's the only one that actually went to this last nationals, but we have others that just didn't go. The other coach who first saw him, and I'm not going to mention any names, but the other coach who first saw him, he went to that coach and asked him if he would coach him, and he turned him down. And then later he found out about me, and he came to me. And the other guy that turned him down was like, fuck. And I turned that guy down because I saw him lift before, and I thought, he's never going to make it to nationals.
Rookie mistake.
And within a short period of time, he's improved vastly under my tutelage. So I think that, trying to make some sort of assessment about somebody that quickly. Second of all, any coach worth his salt, I think loves to get people who someone wouldn't believe could attain a level and get them to that level.
Yeah, it's a good challenge.
It's a challenge, yeah. And so turning away a challenge just because it's a challenge as a coach would be like, someone turning away trying a new max because it's too hard. Yeah. Like that's how we develop as coaches, and is working with people of different body types and different attributes and different kind of genetic tendencies and natural abilities, whether they're high or low. Like that's how I've had plenty of athletes that people at first sight would be like, never done any kind of sport, and got them to a national level.
Yeah.
So, and those were the more challenging athletes. But for me, what most of those athletes had in common was desire, and they were kind of fearless. Like they had a natural will to try to make it to that level because that's what was driving them. And so if that was something, and I'm not saying everybody that wants to be national level lifter is actually going to get there, but certainly that drive to get there enhances your the ability to actually get there. Like your potential goes up a lot.
Yeah.
If you believe that and you really work towards it and you're willing to put in the work and time. And again, it doesn't mean that you'll necessarily make the cut, especially now that we keep raising the totals for national championships. But, what used to be someone who could go to nationals 10 years ago is not the same as now. Like things have changed.
Right.
So there may have been an era in which you were a national level lifter, and it's just because we've raised the level ourselves. It takes so much more to get there. But I think it's just kind of it's a cop-out to say, no, I can't. I mean, being realistic with the athlete is one thing.
Yeah, which
but
is
just
different.
saying, and then just saying, no, you'll never make it. I mean, if somebody tells me that, I'm going to fucking make it. Okay, unless it's like the CrossFit Games. Fuck that. But like...
You're killing me, Ursula. I knew you couldn't do it.
Can do what? The CrossFit Games?
Not swear.
Oh. Did I swear?
Yeah, 2 more times. That's at least half a dozen now.
Do you have
I'm gonna start fining you. I'm gonna start fining you like the FCC for every one.
Well, considering that I don't even know this.
Weightlifting Life Podcast, sponsored by Ursula's mouth.
Literally.
We can now pay for free Wi-Fi.
Okay, what's your answer, Greg?
I can see this from a few different perspectives. Number one, I would never say that exact thing to a lifter because it's just unnecessary. I mean, if you, okay. In the position I'm in now, I turn down lifters left and right. So does Amy.
Sure,
but that is because we're in a totally different situation than we were a few years ago when we were running a gym and I was in there every day, coaching the team. In that situation, I was taking just about anyone. Now, to be fair, towards in the last few years, if someone came in who was a beginner, who didn't have experience and wasn't close enough to the national level yet, I would put them into some classes first. I wouldn't take them right on the team and coach them myself, but that was just me trying to stratify it so I could manage the number of people better. It wasn't because you're not good enough for me. Like I'm too cool to coach you.
I'm going to turn you away just based on your proportions is kind of what she's saying.
But so when you give someone a chance to actually train, you can actually make a better evaluation. So
sure.
Yeah, your proportions are not perfect, but I've maybe coached like 2 people in my life who had close to perfect proportions for weightlifting. The vast majority do not. That's just the nature of the sport, especially in this country when we have such a huge, range of genetic variation. So that being said, you can give someone a chance and as you said, be honest with them. Like, listen, based on the way you're built, based on your age and your lack of sport experience prior to this, it's probably going to be very difficult for you to make it to the national level. I will do what I can to help you get there, but you need to understand going into it, it's going to be tough. It's not going to be something where you walk in 6 months later, you're medaling at nationals like some people are capable of doing. But I wouldn't just say absolutely not, because that's just crazy. Again, Jessica is a perfect example of that. If you just saw her, walking down the road, you'd be like, no way she's going to be an elite weightlifter. And so there are people who will defy basic rules. There's always an exception to every rule you can come up with, whether it's proportion wise, strength wise, technique wise. There's always exceptions, which is why it's so hard answering these questions sometimes.
Well, and I get people sometimes based on age. And we had one guy who started in his early 30s, and he actually qualified for nationals. He'd been a running back in high school. He'd been one of the best in Chicago. He'd just come to the sport really, really late. But then you look at something like Jason Bonnick, who is one of the best lifters in the, what is it now, the 96s?
Yep.
So, and he started older, I believe. I mean, he came out of other sports, but not perfectly built for the sport, but just talented. And so when people have never done sports, sometimes they don't even know what their genetic potential is.
Yeah.
The one problem you do encounter is like the lack of trunk stability that you would get from participating in other types of sports and just kind of general strength. But you just don't know until you start, like you said, assessing them. I mean, the first time I ever squatted, because this is really about me now, I squatted 60 kilos for a set of 10, weighing like 52. So, I mean, some people just come in with this a natural. But if I had never started squatting at 14 years old, how would I know that?
Right.
Like, I wouldn't have. I could have just gone off and lived my life and had this kind of natural strength that had never been developed but was there genetically. So you just don't know.
Yeah, and I think
I come across people like that sometimes. You're like, shit.
Me too. It's irritating because I'm not one of them, but I've seen it multiple times with lifters that I've worked with where, people will really make the mistake of believing, oh, I've never done sports before, so I'm not athletic. It's like, no, you haven't found out if you're athletic or not yet. Mm-hmm. Just because you haven't done it doesn't mean you can't do it. And then you get someone like you who walks in and you're like, oh, wow, you're naturally very strong. You've done nothing and you're stronger than this other person who's been in here squatting for a year. So, you definitely can't just like dismiss someone out of hand. Yeah. I mean, you can. I mean, I guess as a coach, of course, it is your prerogative to take or not take whatever lifters you want. But especially in the US, when you're not flooded with perfect candidates on a daily basis, it seems pretty wild to be able to just like turn people away that easily. Like, at least give them a shot.
Well, yeah, and for me, the deciding factor as to whether I'm going to coach anybody or not has very little to do with any of this. It has to do with, do they really want to get better? Are they willing? Can they dedicate the time within the complexities of their own lives? Because I have a lot of adults, and I'll take people who have never done snatch and clean and jerk and teach them. I almost prefer that, even if they're in their mid-20s or late 30s. Like, if you want to get better, I mean, for me, that's the number one factor. And two would be location, because I want somebody that I can actually see, so I can help them get better faster. That's the whole entire reason why I'm not, known to coach remotely. I always try to find them a coach where they're at. And I understand that situation is different for everybody. So it may be that you can function just fine with a remote program or a remote coach. But my main factors are, do you want to get better? And do you, are you somewhere near me so that I can see you regularly? And so, I mean, that has little to do with, your actual potential. Then I have a tier of lifters that, are right now we're trying to get to, or, they're in the national level and we're trying to make them, get to a medal potential. I've got a few of those. And then I've got a couple of lifters that can make world teams. And that's, a big spread from I'll teach you to lift it. But and some coaches want to work at just one of those strata. Like when I first started coaching, for quite a while, I was working with almost exclusively national level athletes, but nobody was paying me. And I wasn't turning people away necessarily. It was that, I was in a specific location and you had to be there. And it was a college. And so in order to get access, you had to be able to sign up for classes. So they're mostly college age kids. And again, the qualification criteria were so low that basically everybody you train, almost everybody had a chance to become a national level lifter because the qualifications were low and there weren't that many people doing weightlifting. Yeah. So those are just the realities of the early days. So yeah, I mean, most of the people that I was coaching were at least considered national level, even though they probably wouldn't be. They'd be like AO level now. But it doesn't mean that I wouldn't coach somebody who couldn't get there. And of course, we had a collegiate team, and those qualifications were much lower too. So people were going to one or the other. And I had some really talented kids in that group too that were elite level, like could make world teams and stuff. So it's I think it's just kind of cruel almost to tell someone, no, you're not good enough to be a weightlifter, and you're certainly not good enough for me as a coach. I just think that's an unnecessary slight. And maybe it was said in jest, how do I know? But I think it's kind of just unnecessarily hurtful to tell someone, I would just turn you away. Like, you're basically not good enough for me. And it speaks to ego. And to me, I would look at that person and say, well, do you live near me? Do you really want to do this and get better? Give them do an analysis, have a couple of evaluation sessions, and then kind of say, okay, this is where I can predict at this point where we might get to, and these are the steps that we would have to take to try to get to a national level. And then, start the road and just give them the reality that it might be a really long road for you to get to a national level. It might be the length for some people to get to an international level, right. Or the length that it takes some people just to learn and become skillful at the lifts. But those are all different aspects of training someone, and you just want to, if you're gonna turn someone away, I think you turn them away with a little bit of consideration for how you might make them feel.
Yeah, you can choose to coach whatever kind of person you want. Just be a little more tactful about how you deny certain people.
Right.
That's all it is. All right, let's move on because we just talked about that for 14 hours.
Okay.
Allie's second question. Huh?
I said, so we're done. Okay, Allie's second question.
It feels like it sometimes. I'm currently snatching about 93% of body weight and clean and jerking 120%, but I can squat almost double body weight, 40 kilos above my clean and jerk. Do you believe that I should be in a higher weight class at my height, or is it simply technique that's still in my way? What'd she say? She's 5'9"?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
971
on the tall end, but it's not crazy tall. So, I mean, you could definitely be a 76. There's no question about that.
But looking at, do we even know what her body fat percentage is right now? Like how much muscle density she has?
No, I'm just talking about height versus weight. That's all we have to work with. I know,
but I'm just saying there's so there's a lot of other considerations as to why, obviously you have to see somebody live to know whether they're, what their level of proficiency is. I don't know.
I'm doing math.
These are your things. Are you doing the math? You've got all your little fancy, snazzy charts.
So no, not really. I just have.
I just usually calculate for each person. I recalculate the obvious.
If we hadn't, like Ursula said, if we don't have all these details regarding body composition and things like that, I mean, at this point, because you're still in the beginning stage, I don't think I would tell you to move up a weight class. I would see where you could get
naturally. With the training.
Yeah, I mean, I would see where you can get your numbers at your current body weight. And if you feel like you're really maxing out your ability at 71, and it's a potential for you to gain quality weight and go up to 76, then that might make sense. But it's definitely, it's like the proportions thing, right? There are people who are really tall for a weight class relative to everybody else in that weight class, and they do very well, sometimes better than the people you would expect based on height alone to be better. So there's too many other things going on here, and you haven't been doing it long enough. I don't think you haven't kind of pushed to that level to where you really need to worry about it. My personal opinion is if you're not even lifting at the national level yet, you should be lifting at whatever your natural body weight is. Right. There's no need to go crazy and manipulate your body weight at that point. You know what I mean? No,
of course. I would just work on becoming, skillful.
Just be the best darn 71 you can.
No, I mean, when you start squatting and squatting and squatting and squatting over time, you tend to put on some weight. I mean, what I've noticed is a lot of the lifters through the beginning stages, let's say the first 5 years, they put on weight and then they kind of level off. And then it's, towards the last 5 years of their career that we start looking at, really leaning out for performance, or going up in class for performance. So, right. And sometimes we do one of each, we lean out to try to get performance in a certain class and then go up and start the process to try to, have higher levels of performance in the next class. And I'm one of the few people that actually, I think, has elites go down. Most people think, oh, just get bigger and bigger and bigger. But sometimes you are at your limit of what you can do. And to increase your quality, you drop down. But in this case, like you said, unless you're already at the national level or international level, that you need to look at how you could potentially benefit from being in a weight class up or down. Do we really need to look at manipulating body weight for a particular weight class? Your body weight should naturally go up if you start putting on muscle, unless you're losing fat, and even then your body weight should go up.
It depends a lot on how she's training too. I mean, I've done everything from extremely low volume, high intensity to higher volume, and I always struggled to fill out my weight class. So
that's because you were in a bigger class. You could have filled out any class, but to fill out the weight class you were going to perform best in.
105 is not that big.
Yeah.
I'm 5'11". That's like the perfect weight and height ratio. So what I'm saying is some people are going to be able to put on weight well. I was not one of them. So there's another consideration is, you could probably get to 76 kilos, but if it's not quality weight anyway, it's not going to contribute a whole lot. Yeah. And again, really, if you're not at that level, why bother? You should enjoy life, enjoy weightlifting, not turn it into this chore unnecessarily.
Well, I see a lot of people get hung up on weight class really early in their career, where you're just like, why are you? See a lot of people cutting before it's time. Like, oh, I'm cutting so I can qualify for nationals or American O series or whatever. And it's like, but you just started
that almost
lifting.
Never works. I mean, how many times have you heard that story? I'm cutting to make this qualifying total, and then they're like 15 kilos off.
Yeah, or they bomb out, which is even more common.
It's like, okay, well, you're not even making the total at this weight, and now you're going to cut weight to make that total. I mean, I don't mean to be cynical, but it's probably not going to happen.
Now, we were just talking about letting people down nicely, and then we're like, forget it.
Well, no, that's not being mean. Yeah, it's just illogical. It's trying to save people from killing themselves, trying to get results that they're very likely not going to get. All right.
Or let's say you make the cut and you qualify. Now you got to get back down to that weight again and try to do the total again.
Yeah, now you got to live there. You made your bed. Now you got to lift in it.
Yeah.
All right. Allie's third question. All my snatches, including my max, are caught at or slightly above parallel. This feels more natural to me. Even when I do snatches with a pause in the receiving position, they are just slightly lower than parallel. It's not a mobility issue. It just feels much more stable to me and is honestly easier with my proportions. Allie, you're going to get it here in a minute once Ursula starts talking. I am at peace with this, but every time I do a meet or post a video, a billion people feel the need to comment about how I am catching in power. Is my lack of depth something you would try to correct, or would you leave it as is? Yes, Allie, isn't it amazing how many experts you suddenly find when you do something different?
Yes, I would try to improve.
Me too.
To get.
Don't be at peace with it, Allie.
Not have to pull as high means you're going to lift more weight. So I would focus on getting strength in those lower angles so that they also feel comfortable.
Right.
But
it doesn't feel comfortable, Allie, because you never do it.
Yeah.
That's like, oh wow, this new thing that I've never tried before feels way less comfortable than the thing I do every day over and over. That's odd. It must just be unnatural for me. No,
that's like
you
how
have
I
to
feel
do
about
it.
Running.
Yeah, me too. I'm just clearly not built for running. It has nothing to do with the fact that I didn't run for 15 straight years. You need to spend more time in the bottom position. That doesn't mean you shouldn't be pulling the bar the way you are now. That's fine. If you fix the bar in the overhead position at parallel or even slightly above parallel, that's fine, because as the weights get heavier, you're going to receive them lower and lower necessarily. We've talked about this multiple times on this podcast. If you try now with, 35 kilos, oh, well, Greg and Ursula said I had to catch it in the bottom. That's not what we're saying. Don't cut your pull way off just so you force yourself to receive in a low squat. That is absolutely not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is every snatch you do, no matter where you feel that bar fixed overhead, continue sitting into the bottom of the squat. And especially right now, probably hang out there for a 2 or 3 count and get strong and get comfortable and know that you can support weight and be balanced in that position so that you can snatch heavier weights that won't allow you to actually power snatch them.
Right. And then you'll be in a different position altogether. Like the weight that you're lifting will necessarily go up because you don't have to pull it as high.
And there you go. Now you're a national level lifter because you stopped power snatching everything. You let yourself sit all the way in so you can actually lift bigger weights. Problem solved. You're welcome, Allie.
No, we finally found the problem.
It's making dreams come true over here on the Weightlifting Life Podcast.
I had a lifter, and there was this other coach who was an older coach, an experienced coach. And I had a lifter who was learning how to do full snatch. She felt like Allie more comfortable doing power snatch. Her pull was not, she was not so consistent with her pull. I'm trying to talk louder so you can't hear the dog bark. Her pull was not so consistent that she could always predict where it was going to be over her head. And so obviously it was actually probably safer for her to power snatch while we were still learning full snatch. And she was this was her like 5th sport, she was a very athletic teenager and came to the sport out of powerlifting. And so we were having to learn the skill of how to snatch and how to clean and jerk. And I took her to a meet that was, it was a collegiate level, so it was a somewhat national level meet at the time, back when it was hardly even recognized and no one went. But she was just a few months in with me, and one of the coaches came up to me and just, as if this was solicited, was like, so when's she going to do a full snatch? And I looked at him, I said, well, when she can full snatch more than she can power snatch. That's when she's going to do a full snatch in competition. That's what he was referring to. And of course, she did plenty of full snatches in training, but I didn't want her to have such a bad experience and feel so just, terrified of competing because she knew she was going to have to do something that she was not yet adept at.
That's not the time to try it out.
Right. I allowed it so that she could have some success.
I'll allow it.
Yeah, I allowed it, really, so that she would have, and got, here's this high-level coach acting like I don't know what the hell I'm doing because I'm letting someone power snatch.
Oh, God, get over it.
It's like, so, Allie, don't feel bad if that's what you're normally doing, and I wouldn't listen to all the shit. I'm just saying, all the stuff. I'm just saying.
That doesn't really work, working, but yeah.
Whatever. Stuff. So just keep working on your bottom position and try to incorporate that into the full movement by doing some, hip snatches that you can just, or pull unders. What do you call them? Tall snatches.
Yeah.
Work like that, as well as strength work in overhead stability, and getting comfortable, like Greg said, pausing. And I do that a lot with newer lifters when we're really learning how to get down into the full squat position.
It's such a simple thing to do, and it's so effective. Yeah. You don't have to add it.
Do 5 singles with a 2-second pause in the hole, and you can really, really have positive impact on both their pull trajectory and their overhead. Because it's amazing how much better someone pulls when they know they need to do a perfect pull to be able to catch and stay. Yeah, they can't go running forward to save it. There's no options. Yeah. Or correction post pull. So, I wouldn't listen to the critics. We all have them. I would just, you do you, Allie. Work on the bottom position, get better at that, and then shut them all up by showing up to a meet and snatching 10 kilos more. Yeah. 3 for 3. Basically just fixed every problem in Allie's entire life. All right. Let's take care of this now very brief question for Vaughn, and then I saw Vaughn and I was like, hold on. And then I read it. Beginner question. I'm like, Chad. No, I'm kidding. it's definitely not that Vaughn.
Beginner question: is the rattle of the barbell during hip contact indicative of perfect or ideal timing? I'm told that timing can't be taught and is oh, Jesus, and is different for everyone. What can I do to work on my timing in the snatch and clean and jerk? Timing can't be taught?
Okay. So
that's just bananas as a concept right there.
So let's just talk.
You literally couldn't do any motor skill in your entire life if timing couldn't be taught and learned. You couldn't walk.
You would, that's right.
You'd take 2 steps at the same time. It'd just be hopping. Fudge. I almost just swore right there because this is so absurd. I'm so passionate, Ursula.
I couldn't decide whether I was laughing at the hop or the fudge.
Fudge.
You'd be hopping.
I mean, even crawling takes timing. You got to alternate the sides. You know what I mean?
You'd still be dragging yourself along
with
2 arms sideways in a diaper.
You'd just be like doing a little log roll. Log roll, shrimping around.
Obviously, from this part of the discussion, you can gather that both Greg and I believe that you can teach timing.
I believe you can teach timing. Doesn't mean you're going to be good at it, but you can learn it to some extent.
So, timing in weightlifting is, specifically, I think the big part of when we talk about timing is like when you do something. So what
that is what timing is.
Yeah, but I'm thinking that
I believe that timing is really about when you do something. That's just my personal thought on the issue.
This guy asked the question.
So crazy. What a unique perspective you have.
I'm so smart.
You guys taking notes out there?
Look, Greg.
We'll pause for a minute so you can write that one down. All right, Ursula, come on, spit it out. Timing is how you time things.
Shut up for a second so I can get it out. So obviously something like when you jump is important for imparting power or speed to the bar, force that you're getting from the ground, right? So being able to impart that force to the bar. He asked another question here about banging the bar too. And so if you get the bar into your hip and at that moment you jump, sometimes between that contact with your hip and the jump, you'll hear the bar rattle. Like you'll hear the weights rattle in the bar. And so you hear that little ting. And so you'll know that it's timed well because you got it into your hip. Now, do you necessarily have to make that sound to have good timing? The answer is no, right? Because that has to do with the actual impact itself. And as long as that impact is followed by movement upward of the bar and you, then it's fine. But it doesn't necessitate that you have to hear that little ting sound for you to have good timing. Timing in that case is just when you actually jump. So if the bar is lower than it normally is and you jump, then that's timing that's off. You want the bar in the hip and at the highest point before you jump to have proper timing of the jump. The other thing that we're not addressing here that maybe is what that person was referring to, if I can just try to pull myself into some other way of thinking, is, and you can even teach this, but reaction time.
Yeah.
So maybe they were kind of referring to reaction time as something you can't teach, but you can improve someone's reaction time. So timing and reaction time aren't necessarily the same thing. One has to do with your ability to transmit the neural impulse to be able to make a movement, right? So let's say I'm catching a dollar bill. Some people can do it and some people can't. That's just dropped, right? That's about reaction time. But you can still teach timing, like when you should change which angle, and particularly the timing of the jump and the receiving position are really important in weightlifting. And maybe I don't receive it as fast as someone else. Like I don't turn over and respond to the bar as quickly as someone else, which would be indicative of my reaction time. But I can still learn when the bar's at its height, how to catch it at that particular time or receive it at that particular time and amortize the rest of it and, break the phase of the bar dropping so that it moves with me. So, somebody might have better reaction time than somebody else. I would say that you can work on that.
Absolutely.
You can get better, but some people are just naturally faster in the reaction time than others. It's just like we see people taking off in track and field when they blow the pistol goes off. Like, who reacts faster? Well, that's reaction time. But it doesn't mean that the person who doesn't have good reaction time is now, as Greg would say, hopping to the 100 meters. They're still all, have the timing for running. It's like when you move what?
Yeah.
Oh, God, okay, I'm going to shut up.
Left, then right, then left again. Yeah. So what Ursula said, her incredible insights on the meaning of timing. So the rattle of the bar. So the short answer, Vaughn, is no. The rattle of the bar does not mean your timing is correct. You could be rattling the bar by hitting it super low on your thighs too. All the rattle of the bar means.
The rattle, if you do that, then you would need to push the hips forward to make that rattle.
No. Literally, all you have to do is create a collision between the bar and some part of your body.
I guess you could let the bar go out and then come
you could be way too far over the bar, start your second pull way too soon, hit it, 2 inches above your knee, bang the bar really hard. It's going to be the worst lift, terrible timing, the worst thing anyone's ever seen. Everyone's going to feel nauseous, but the bar will rattle because there was an impact.
Right.
So no, rattling of the barbell does not indicate ideal timing.
Necessarily, yeah.
Well, it doesn't. It can go along with ideal timing, but like you said earlier too, you can have a really well executed lift with perfect timing and not hear that bar. My wife Amy is actually a perfect example of that. She's one of those lifters where people watch and then their jaw drops because it's so fast, but her bar does not make a noise. It's actually like one of the most impressive things ever. She naturally has this pull technique where that bar is so close to her body the whole way up. She extends very completely. The bar is contacting the body at the hip, but there's no impact because it's not an abrupt contact, right? It kind of moves in more gradually and then stays in close, versus most people aren't able to get that kind of precision. And so it's still good, but there's still that little bit of horizontal impact, even if it's controlled well. So as you said, prior to and right after contact, the bar is still moving overwhelmingly vertical. So it's really what you should be using the sound of the bar to help you with, I think, is seeing what the timing of your contact is. So when is that contact occurring? When are you hearing the bar rattle? And it should be when you're essentially reaching, about that power position. So the bar is for the snatch, the bar is in the crease of your hip, your knees are forward and your trunk is about vertical, right? That's considered like the ideal time for the bar and body to make full contact. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. So if you're hearing the bar rattle way before that or after that, then your timing is definitely off. Although the bar is not really going to make the sound until it comes off your body, so it's going to be closer. You're probably not going to really hear it until it's a little bit past that point of contact, but you get the idea. If you're hearing that rattle really early in the lift or really late in the lift, there's something weird going on.
Well, and I stand corrected. You're right. Like, I could bang it. I wasn't thinking to do this, but I could let the bar come out and just bang it anywhere on my thigh and creates a ting on the bar.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen it done many times.
Yeah, well, and when I think about it,
I lifted that one so powerfully. No, just poorly. It doesn't happen. I've never heard it. Doesn't happen in my gym.
I don't see it, but
I don't have athletes who make mistakes.
Not in front of me. Actually, they do it all the time. They always tell me the perfect lift always happened when I wasn't lifting, usually, or when I wasn't looking, and when I wasn't lifting.
I knew what you meant.
Yeah.
A perfect lift has definitely never happened while I was lifting. I can tell you that.
I've actually seen coaches who teach that, like, just the making that sound itself is what all you want, and they don't take into consideration whether the timing of the jump is in conjunction with it, or whether there's a jump at all. Like sometimes they just bang it up there.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, obviously that would not be indicative of a good lift, because if you jump at the wrong time and the bar is moving away from you at any point, then that's obviously not desirable.
Yeah.
Or just wrong.
Regarding this, what he said here about the timing is different for everyone, I would agree with that to an extent, because the movement prior to and immediately after that contact, which should always be happening at that same basic position, will be a little different based on proportions and strength and weaknesses and kind of the little idiosyncrasies of individual technique. But it's not going to be that dramatic, you know. And so by timing variations, yeah, you're gonna have some people who have a little slower first pull, or like a longer transition during the second pull into that contact, or, you know, like a really late second pull where you're like, there's no way they're just deadlifting, and then all of a sudden they explode and it's this great lift, like Caleb Ward style. So in that sense, yeah, timing is probably different for everybody. But I guess the real question now is, what can he do to work on his timing in the snatch and clean and jerk? Oh, sorry, just real quick. With the clean, you are going to contact a little bit lower unless you have really short arms. You might still be contacting pretty close to the hip, but it still should be pretty high on the thigh, and in the same basic position. Knees are forward, trunk is about vertical at the point of contact. So anyway, yes, what would you try?
So I would try first to make sure you know when you're supposed to leave the ground or when you're supposed to push through the ground before you start going under. I would start with like pulls to the hip, pull and snatch, clean pulls to the contact point, snatch pulls to the contact point. Then maybe for the snatch, you could do snatch pulls into a jump. And then for the receiving, all sorts of snatch balance variations to try to make sure that you're able to meet the bar at whatever height it is, and not letting the bar fall on you. So those would be some of my suggestions. First, figuring out where you should be contacting and jumping, actually following through with the jump, and then receiving. So, I mean, those things will start to ingrain like where that point is so that it becomes consistent.
Yeah.
Some other things that you can do, like once you've done that, maybe working on catching power snatches at different heights, making sure you're jumping at the right time and learning how to adjust force a little bit so that you can start working on your reaction time to the bar. What about you, Greg? I mean, I know I have more, but right now I'm looking at the clock.
Yeah, and you would definitely kind of change what you tried based on the individual athlete, like what you had seen them doing time to time. So yeah, it's hard to say every single thing, but I would do something. Well, I mean, I agree with your suggestions. Those are all useful. And then something like a snatch high pull followed by a snatch from power position. So you kind of get that with the high pull, you get the timing of that contact point and then the transition into the pull with the arms. And then immediately following that with the snatch from that power position, which is exactly what I was describing. And at the point the bar should be contacting the hip. So again, like you said, just ingraining the feeling of that position and having the bar in contact with you at that position. And I mean, honestly, that'd probably be the first thing I would try and kind of see how that went. And then doing stuff like complexes of snatch from power position plus a snatch from the floor, or even like a 3-position snatch where you start from power position, you go down to maybe right above the knee and then to the floor. You're trying to just kind of layer on more and more as you go, and starting with the position that where you can control it the most and put yourself in that perfect place. There is an exercise now when you say snatch pull to hip, are you talking about the top of that pull position? Your shoulders are still very slightly in front of the bar, kind of like the Polish style?
No.
So you're talking about pull into a power position.
Right.
Okay.
Because you need to find where you're going to actually jump from.
Yeah.
And you need to replicate that. And then you can do from that position, I even do like snatch pull jumps from the hip, just so you can feel like this is where I'm jumping from. And then you find that position and then jump. And that's what one of my old coaches, when he was Bulgarian, One of the few things that were like really good, other than the 7 ganglion cysts on my wrists, that I learned from him was those snatch pulls with a jump. And we used to do full pulls with a jump, but just learning, because if you do that and you fall forward or back, you know that you either weren't in the right position or you jumped early. And so those kind of give you some feedback, inherently about whether the timing of your jump is correct. So that's why I like those. I think we're looking at 2 things on timing. One, when you contact, and of course, bar path and all of that is a given. But the second thing is the reaction time to the receiving of the bar. So those, any exercises that are going to work on those 2 are going to help you with the timing of the jump, timing of the turnover. Yeah.
All right. Let's wrap this thing up, guys.
Okay.
Thank you again for listening. I appreciate it. If you have a spare minute and you actually care at all about us, you care about our emotional well-being and our futures, we would appreciate a quick review on iTunes or Google Play or whatever you listen to on this, or listen to this on, would make more sense. Go in there, hit the 5-star thing, and then you can come up with some like amazing, really moving prose to post in there too, and just really convince the rest of the world to listen to this podcast so we can make tons of money off of it. I'm just kidding. I still have to pay for it. Yeah. All right. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
All right. See you guys.